Hello YouTube, this is Morgan Airspeed Prime here with my next Star Wars video. This is going to be my review for The Bad Batch Season 3 Episode 13, Into the Breach. So we only have 2 more episodes to go. Next week's episode and then the finale will be the week afterwards, May 1st I believe. So yeah, there's only 15 episodes this season, not 16, important to note. So this is the third last episode of the season and series. And I thought it was a good episode, but it's clear that we're not quite in the finale yet. This was another kind of setup-y style episode for what I assume will be much more action-packed final 2 episodes of the series. I was a bit worried that they were going to do something along the lines of this. I think the way they actually went about doing it prevented it from falling into, I think, the trap it otherwise could have of like another setup episode for the finale. But this one worked because, yes, the Bad Batch have to do a sort of quote-unquote infiltration mission to get some information, but it was so much more interesting because Rampart was included, and they basically used him as the kind of core of their plan, at least initially. And then towards the end of the episode, Echo played a really important role in terms of getting them the kind of information, or getting the plan to a point where they could actually do something with it. And so those kind of more unique aspects, I think, helped take this episode from being something that could have just been, just the setup for the finale to, no, they did some good stuff here because Rampart doing the plan with the Bad Batch, the acting was perfect, and Echo kind of got his big moment as kind of part of the Bad Batch that he often kind of maybe hasn't had as much of over the course of the series. We did get stuff on the other kind of parts of the series, so we did see Omega interacting with the other kids and setting up some sort of an escape plan. Once again, there's some slight teases with Emery to a certain degree. Clearly, I think just keeping it in your mind that as an escape attempt and more chaos is going to happen surrounding Tantis, that, yeah, she's probably going to make a choice and we kind of seemingly know what way it's going to go. So getting into the details, I'll actually start with the Omega stuff because there's not that many scenes. They didn't do too much. They did introduce all the kids by name, which was nice to get. But for the most part, the focus here was more or less Omega just coming up with a plan. The kids are going to roughly help her, but it doesn't seem like they're a huge part of the plan. They're just like a distraction while she does most of what she's going to do herself. The plot that they're going for here is that they establish that in each of their kind of cells, the wall opens up and basically the blood canister transfer mechanism, that's how they're going to escape. And so Omega wedges open that a little bit and she sees into the system. So just behind the wall is actually just a giant open space, which is pretty much the network of these kind of like delivery system things that will give her basically access to, I suppose, pretty much wherever she needs to go in Tantis. So she has a way out, and they just set up the idea that one of the other doctors, Scalder, was nearly onto her, nearly caught her because a lot of the tiles fell out, but Omega managed to put it back together. So she seems to have an escape, a way out. The exact details of it are kind of hard to get across because, of course, she plans to get herself and all the other kids out as well, which might be tricky because one of them is effectively like an infant and has to be sort of carried around. So are they all just going through the wall, or is Omega going to escape on her own and find some way to kind of come back for them? That could be a bit of an awkward situation, and then that's going to be happening at the same time as effectively the Bad Batch are arriving in, and they're going to cause chaos. So over the next 2 episodes, it is going to, I'm guessing, just be absolute pandemonium in Tantis, just with everything going wrong. Omega's escape attempt, the Bad Batch infiltration, and a lot of, I suppose, twists and turns, characters changing sides and stuff like that, because we're expecting some clones to kind of start to rebel. We're probably expecting a few characters to arrive maybe on the scene, Rex and so on, and because of like basically the name of the kind of upcoming episodes, which are next episode is called Flash Strike, and then the final episode is called The Cavalry Has Arrived. So The Cavalry Has Arrived feels like it basically has to be the arrival of like other clones at this point, given that the way the episode ended was that the Bad Batch are going to arrive on Tantis just themselves and Rampart on that ship. So none of the other clones seem to be aware or involved in this, but maybe they'll arrive at a later point. The other point that this maybe could be is they set up over the next 2 episodes the idea of effectively the clones turning on the Empire effectively here, and we get our clone rebellion arc, because again, the focus of the series, I don't want to just be on the Bad Batch characters, but where the show's, I think, real strength has been like actually just developing the clones full stop. Some of the better episodes have maybe only included one member of the Bad Batch, like some of the Crosshairs episodes when he was on his own with the Empire, just establishing the way the Empire sees the clones and basically views them as being disposable, but we of course view them in the exact opposite direction. So what are we doing there? But yeah, that is mostly the Omega side of the episode. There was no obvious setup when it comes to like, we didn't do any more stuff when it came to like what Omega's blood means for Project Necromancer, force sensitivity stuff with the other kids and Omega realizing that or anything. We just did not address that at all. And there wasn't really the time to do any particular character development of her creating a relationship with any individual one of the other kids or anything like that. And then, yeah, the whole slight tease of tension between Skalder and Emery, because Emery's in charge, but Skalder seems like the one who's maybe is going to run the place more in line with the way the Empire actually wants. So I'm guessing if Emery does decide to make her choice, which we expect her to do, I'm guessing Skalder might kind of confront her in some way. Because one of the things, if you go back with information on Skalder, is that in one of the episode kind of debrief style things, they more or less compared Skalder to Dr. Pershing. So kind of almost establishing that like, oh, is she going to be the next one effectively in charge of Project Necromancer if we assume Emery is going to make the choice that she's going to make? But we have to wait and see what exactly happens there. On the Bad Batch side of the episode, so Rampart doesn't know the coordinates off the top of his head, but establishes that, hey, if you go to this station that orbits Coruscant, some ships that leave that station are going to Tantis. The coordinates are always given to them kind of pretty much as they leave. So this is the setup for what the plan is going to be. We're going to infiltrate this station and get on board one of these ships and basically download the coordinates from one of the ships that is destined for Tantis. That is the plan. The problem is they have to infiltrate a facility, but they have all custom clone armor, and it looks like it's very obvious that it's them. So this is where they decide, okay, we're going to get rid of all of our kind of markings and stuff like that, get down to just kind of black and grey armor, and Rampart, you're going to be the sort of head of this mission effectively, because we have this Imperial captain uniform for you. You're going to wear that and just act like you belong, and you'll get us through because we are your troops, and we hope that we'll just get through in that way. And this was definitely, it made what could have just been a random, I get it, it's like the setup for the finale kind of mission, but it's still a mission to get a piece of information. It takes what has been the trademark kind of assault of the Bad Batch on a place and turned it into something a bit more interesting, a bit more characterful, because of the kind of humor that Rampart added to the group. Just a complete different dynamic where they don't trust him, but they need him, and then he doesn't trust them or like them. He wants to be in charge, but he also needs them to kind of, in a way, get him his freedom, so he has to go along with it. There was some really funny moments here, especially the whole, like, this is the captain's uniform, and it's like, I was a vice admiral, like, I can't wear this, it's not the right rank, basically. but he goes along with it. It's still a high enough rank for him to, you know, use his rank to just completely talk down to anyone below him. And that's the characterization that you get. It's just that immediate sense of like, I have authority. I'm now going to wield this authority with abandon against anyone that I come across. And it was incredibly fun. And I'm glad that they chose this approach rather than just having the Bad Batch go in kind of blasters firing all over the place. It turned into that a little bit, of course, with like Echo's kind of side of the mission eventually. But I'm glad that they didn't just make it kind of generic Bad Batch action scene number 20. Instead, it was like, okay, let's use Rampart. Echo's now back with the group. Let's use him. And the others are mainly going to be there waiting for the word to see if it's all going to work out. They get through, and the big thing they find out is that the ships, it doesn't seem like store the data, or at the very least, the logistics of it are a little bit off. The ships don't get where they're heading before they launch. They get it while they're in the process of leaving. So pretty much last minute, right before they jump, that's effectively when they're given the coordinates to Tantis. And this puts the mission off because the plan was to just basically infiltrate a ship before it leaves, get the information, and then go effectively on their own time. But now they realize that if we don't go now, we don't know when we're going to go. So the only option here is someone has to infiltrate the ship and basically get the sensors down on the ship so that we can dock our ship onto it and follow them to Tantis that way. So the mission changes from like, we have a lot of time to plan this, to no, it's going to have to be us doing this, otherwise it's done. Rampart, of course, doesn't like this. This is where Echo comes in important, because he's the one who infiltrates. He has, of course, the droid arm, so he can interface with the ship and, you know, take the sensors down, which he manages to just about do. I liked the faith that Hunter showed in Echo, that everyone else is worrying that, like, oh, has he done it? No, it's over, especially Rampart. But Hunter has complete faith in Echo at this point, so he kind of preemptively kind of goes, assuming it's down and Echo can't just quite get the word out yet. And they attach on right as the ship goes into hyperspace. So they've made it, and they're going to arrive at Tantis. And so the setup is that we're going to arrive at Tantis and everything is going to kick off, like I said. It's going to be, you know, how stealthy of an arrival is it going to be is an interesting one, because, like, they're right on the underside of the ship. So when it goes to land, they're going to have to, like, detach beforehand, which will probably be noticed. So this is maybe where the setup of the whole jungle outside of Tantis comes into play. Like, will there have to be a really heavy infiltration from, like, all the way outside into Tantis? Or are they going to find their way to kind of crash land in the facility, and how stealthy or not is it going to be? Because the Bad Batch is going to distract everyone from what Omega is planning, and then potentially Omega will distract a little bit from what the Bad Batch are doing. But, you know, we have to wait and see how everything all kind of comes together. But like I said, I don't think there's too much particularly to talk about in the episode, because character-wise, I don't think we really did anything particularly different or unique. Like, Omega is in the exact same position that she was in the last episode. It's now just that she has a bit of a plan. None of the Bad Batch got character development as such in the episode. It was just, like I said, it was the last stage of setup needed before the two finale episodes. And my thing is just that I hope they've given themselves enough time to do the action that they need, do the character moments that they need, and also have it be an ending that works. So give themselves enough time for whatever sort of epilogue we're going to do, because it does feel like there's quite a few open plot threads. Do all of them have to be resolved here within the Bad Batch? I'm not really sure, because they could also decide that some of the more clone-centric plots can come into play later, but, you know, we have to wait and see, because, you know, the dream scenario is that everything gets wrapped up here. So we deal with Rex, he's involved. Wolf makes his turn. We get some setup on what's happening with Cody. We potentially resolve if there is a big identity reveal about the clone assassin character. Is it Tech? Is it Cody? Does it not matter? Were we all speculating for no reason? All those sort of things begin to come into play, and you just wonder, like, 2 episodes, do they have the time to resolve this in the way that they need to? And that's where I'm maybe just a little bit worried, and that maybe 3 episodes is what they should have given to the actual set piece of the ending, if they're going to be detailed in any way, but we'll see what happens. So, yeah, review next week and the following week to finish off the show, but for now, let me know in the comments what your thoughts were on this episode of The Bad Batch, but that's been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.